Hello. I can see Lee Miller, who's just...
I mean, here, you can have me in full. Yay! Look at me, I've got a yellow hat on. I don't know what I look. I realised that I pressed.
You look like an explorer. You look like some kind of Arctic explorer.
I look like the little kid at the. You see, the sweet of you say. I think I look like the little kid at the beginning of the 1980s horror miniseries It. I'm Georgie. I'm going to be pulled into the cellar. Not the cellar, the storm drain.
This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing.
Hello, I don't know quite what to do here, but this is a very special evening for us, Lee Miller, isn't it?
Oh, it is. I mean, I think we've been gently creeping towards this in a variety of ways over a
I like that we took 4 years.
Bob and I were drunk under the covers for a little while.
That's right.
And you couldn't really hear her. Yeah, you couldn't really hear her because she was on the wrong side of the microphone and we were pissed. Then Lil snuck along.
While you were talking about your testicles.
No, hang about. I was talking about my testicles, and I didn't know that I was talking to Lil at the time, so that was awkward. Which Matt, you won't have heard yet because that was just recorded. I've spoilt it. I spoilt the ending. And now today we've got a special guest. Simon, do the special guest.
It's incredible. I don't know what the special guest theme is, but you should play it right now, Lee Miller. Go. So we have a guest. In fact, not even well, he is special, but just a guest is special enough, really. But we have a young man called Matthew Smith, who's one of my favourite people in the world. You probably didn't know that, Matt.
That's very kind. Kind of
you
to say. You're one of my favourite humans, Simon. So there you go. Mutual admiration. Admiration.
So I'll just fifth wheel. Don't worry about me.
No,
it's
you're
fine.
good. You're good. That's your. So Matt and I, we've known each other a long time and have danced together. And I think one of my favourite memories of you, Matthew Smith, is I reckon it was early in 1998. I was still in my 20s just, and you were easily in your 20s. And we were just about to perform a piece, an artwork, a dance called Quick by Shona McCullagh. And it was a big premiere, and and we were shitting ourselves.
You had the starring role,
yeah,
Simon. Do you remember?
I'd forgotten that bit. Yeah. And you said, I don't think I could get any more nervous than I am now. And then seconds later you went, oh no, I was wrong.
Yeah, you know when I said I couldn't get nervous? Yeah, I am.
So,
I have a memory of you, Simon, driving from Dunedin to Christchurch to do something. I don't know what. And you sang the song to me. I bet this song's going to get on your nerves. I bet this song's going to get on your nerves. I bet this song's going to get on your nerves. I bet this... And it did.
It does sound like something I might do. It's not my...
Matt, can I ask you a question? Were you driving on that car journey, or were you a passenger?
I was definitely a passenger at that time.
I have no memory.
I did not get my driving license until in my 40s.
Ooh, that's an impressive feat to hold off that long. The reason I asked is, I've had many car journeys with Simon. Most of them really positive, but there was one that I was just thinking about the other day, Simon, where you kept knocking
this is
the
the
car
mutual
out
shit on Simon.
No. Well, yeah, a little bit. You kept knocking the car out of gear, and I didn't know that's what was happening, and I got so frustrated and quite bad-tempered. Anyway, that was that.
So Matt, Lee, I have no idea how to transition into this conversation. But a while back, Matthew Smith, you and I had been talking about. Can I do this just like this? Is that all right? Just a jump cut?
Yeah,
yeah,
it works for me.
Yeah. So a while ago, we'd been talking about depression. And you said, well, it's perhaps the easiest thing to say is that you go through and have had periods of depression, severe depression. Do you think that's the right way to describe that?
Yeah, that's been a feature of this last year.
Of this last year.
Primarily, I had little flirts with depression in the past, but this year has been definitely a year of moving in and out of that state.
Yeah. And we and so as we were talking, and I think those were, that mostly the sort of text messages, sort of kind of checking in and seeing how you were, and then also a couple of conversations or a conversation, and at some point we talked about the possibility of you talking about it on this podcast, which is what we're going to do tonight.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I'm just about to say something,
and
that was it.
Long, awkward silence. Yeah.
It's also because Lee and I have been doing this quite a long time now, and we're pretty good at talking through periods of not knowing what it is the hell we're going to talk about. But we never kind of enter conversations with a very particular idea of what it is that we're going to talk about. So that's a little bit novel as well for me right now.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the first times that we've joined a call knowing that there was a shape to the evening. And so that, I think that's probably where the awkwardness is going to lie, Matt, rather than the conversation itself. It's just the sense that, we're supposed to be talking about something now, rather than we're having a conversation and all of a sudden we're talking about death, or we're talking about cancer, or we're talking just a couple of the conversations that we've had recently. Those
you just arrived
there.
Of
laughs. This.
I mean, we are funny. Can I ask, Matt, because you used a really interesting phrase just then, that you've had some small flirts with depression, and then this year it's been something you've been in and out of. So I'm just thinking about the phrase small flirts, and then it sounds like you've been in a relationship this year. So it's like, how did it not emerge for you? How did you know that you're in a relationship rather than just flirting? What was the thing that made you go, oh?
No, it's a fantastic question, because in the current state now, I feel free. I feel out of that state, but it has been. I've been thinking about or trying to work out what is triggering and why it comes back, and so trying to understand those processes is really important. So why has it become a kind of repeating pattern in quite condensed time, as opposed to a few moments in the past where I think I had a period of around 4 months where I was in a depressed state, but managed to function and to continue with what I'm doing, but just not at the fundamental center, in the core of your being. This feeling that I'm not good. I'm not okay. I don't feel good. And that was while I was living in Vienna, and it followed. I had a sound trauma. I was sick, and I went to. I wish I could remember the name, but it was a nightclub in Vienna, famous for its amazing sound system, and I was sick when I went, and so afterwards I had tinnitus, but it wouldn't leave. So that was exceedingly stressful. And I think if I can see a pattern, I think high stress and anxiety is the precipitating thing that draws. Destabilizes me, and then depression is a thing that follows after that.
Can you it's fascinating, the language, and Lee's just picked up on something, and before you described that, right now you described yourself as feeling free, and I wonder if you can, and again, the sort of, I guess, the naivety of this question, which is, what's it like, or can you describe the opposite of that? Like, what's the feeling of being depressed?
I think what I said before is kind of the essence of it, and it's there's things that kind of arrive. There's a feeling. It's a physical sensation, and it's close to pain, but it's or it is a type of pain. It's, in my case, I feel it in the chest, and then I think it goes along with circular or repetitive thinking, what I call thought loops, which are you're fully identifying with your thoughts and the narratives you're telling yourself. So the kind of the inner monologue, the chatter, and that chatter is like I heard recently. I mean, we might talk about that later on. There's something in Norway, in Oslo, called Uroskolen, which, if you try to translate that, is the school for angst, or the angst school. But we can talk about that later. But it's like a magnetic or magnetic North Pole that just sucks you up into these thought loops, which are predominantly negative, and it kind of arrests your ability to think clearly about anything, but you're kind of going round and round with the same thoughts, and they're very negative. I mean, if you write them down, it's kind of like strong, catastrophic thinking. That you can't do life, you're no good. These kind of feelings, and verbalizations.
Just to say, I just want to express my, it's early in this conversation, but kind of gratitude for your, I think, real courage just to even articulate what you've just described is pretty extraordinary to hear and difficult.
When we were discussing about talking about it, I mean, it even though things have progressed really, society-wise, it's not enough just to be depressed. You also feel shame and about being depressed. So you have these double layers, or you're angry for being angry at yourself, and negative at yourself for being negative about yourself. So you're getting these like double layers of destructive thinking.
It's like meta negativity.
Yeah, I mean, and it also plays in the anxiousness. You start to be anxious about being anxious, and so to break that is really important. But that was, one of the motivations to talk is just because, I feel like, I'm not the first, of course, but I think it's important to talk openly and to try to dispel these feelings of shame and or stigma about it. Like somehow mental health is in the realm of your control, whereas physical health is, a little bit more. No one questions it in the same way. If you get COVID or a virus, or you're not looking at, oh, that's a character flaw, or you're somehow weak, or
One of the things that Simon and I think have been cooked in the broth of, that we just can't seem to avoid falling into loops of conversations about is gender and gender politics. And Simon sent me I woke up to a text from I woke up
Sorry. It was like I said it last night, Lee. You really had gone to bed so early.
But that's because I stayed up until 3:00 the previous day, just being a dickhead with Bob. And so she'd gone off to London to be all like sensible and grown up, and I was so tired that about 6:00 I went, I've got to get to bed now because I can't do late nights.
That's after you'd made yourself gingerbread, right?
Yeah, and after I'd eaten all of the gingerbread and then went to sleep. But Simon sent me apparently last night, but I received it this morning. Another article about. Oh, that's not fair because I relish.
It sounds like I do it like 3 times a day.
I relish.
Here's another article about gender.
I relish the fact that you want to have these conversations because we come at things from slightly different perspectives around masculinity and maleness. And just listening to you talk, Matt, and the way that kind of shame features in the way that you're articulating it, I wonder to what extent does that feel gendered in any way? Like that it's we've got lots of language about man up and all of those kinds of really problematic terms. Does that emerge for you, or is it just like, no, this is way bigger than that? This is something that is just about humanness. It's not. It doesn't live there.
I think. I mean, I don't know how accurate the research is, but it does seem to be that the mental health outliers are, or in the bell-shaped curve, there's more men, at either extremes of, a large number of humans struggling with mental health, and that seems to be a feature of of maleness. I don't know how accurate that is. It's just something I came across. But I was listening to another podcast, not yours, sorry.
What? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that was that.
I'm not sure we can carry on this conversation.
Cut it out.
It
Cut that out.
was going so well, and you've been shitting on it.
No, I haven't. No, this is the first podcast for me ever. But I think I was listening to Trevor Noah discussing his upbringing, and he discussed depression from the perspective of ADHD, which is something that he suffers from or has been diagnosed with. But one of his observations was that he grew up around a lot of women, and so his idea of how a social interaction should be or can be was through that lens of being around his grandmother, I think, and his mother and their friends, and what his observation was that women seem to be better at talking to each other and somehow crowdsourcing their struggles, and and being able to bear immense hardships because of that. Perhaps that skill has come, from necessity. I think he made that argument, from being deprivileged for so long. But so relating back, this reminds me of something you used to say, Simon, too. You used to say, but that's enough. That's enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think about me? I was going to say, like,
I think I still
but coming back to me and the genderedness or not of my experience, I think I was highly resistant to talking about this beyond a very, very tight group of humans. And I think perhaps if I had been, if I was female, I might have been less resistant to, discussing what's been troubling me, and also then to recognise that most of my thinking is clearly very unoriginal. Like It's like, even things like suicidal thinking is not a particularly original thought for a human to have, so it's quite amusing to think of it like that.
It's another sort of stick to beat yourself with is I can't even have an original negative thought.
Yeah, well, no, it's helpful. I think that's the thing. If you actually open up and share, you quite quickly realize that most humans are in one way or another dealing with the angst of being a human. That's there somehow. For all of us, it might be in the background. It might be you may not encounter that until the very end of your life, perhaps, or you may have been forced through tragedy and trauma to experience that in your childhood. So
the other thing that, of course, Lee, you can probably guess is that Matt and I have been cooked in the particular broth of being New Zealand men. And I Matt's from a different part of the country, but I certainly don't remember, and I don't really think I had many role models of men talking about how they were feeling. There was certainly the language at high school in particular, and at university was about kind of one-upmanship, of being funny, and of having a laugh, and it was sort of built around mocking in a way. And I've been both the provider and on the receiving end of that in different parts of my life. But it's really hard for me to imagine being, because of that kind of world or that kind of relationship, in terms of men talking about how it is that they're feeling and being heard or being listened to. It seems like that's another kind of thing to step by or overcome. And my experience in part was entering the dance world was very much like that, in the sense that it's basically a woman's world, or a woman's world. It's a place which is inhabited mostly by women, and so there was something about the kind of the way in which it made it possible to talk about slightly more difficult things, or things that previously I would have had been totally terrified to have talked about.
Yeah, I think perhaps a generalization is also that men feel more comfortable about sharing in an activity together and bonding through that, as opposed to to open up and to really talk about, because I think, it's still ridiculous, but you don't want to show what you perceive as a weakness or a flaw.
Were you another sportsman, Matt?
No, I was more a musical, singing human who loved to be physical. So I liked athletics and things, but I was not drawn to it. So finding dance was a revelation for me, that could combine the music and the theatre and that love of physicality.
We met because of a woman called Shona Dunlop-McTavish, a rather extraordinary woman who died not too many years ago at a very ripe age. But we did lots of little dances for Shona in different ways. One of which include I don't even know how to describe it. It was a very masculine dance in which we had some kind of costume thing which was representative of semen coming out of our trousers.
Yes, that was called the fertility dance.
Ah, there you go. Of course it was.
Yes, we had to pull ribbons from our groin and...
Thank you, Matt, because I had so many questions, and you really elegantly stopped them dead in the
I just couldn't remember them.
How would that work? I'm glad it was ribbons.
It was in the world of interpretive dance, that's for sure. This is a very, it's a very sort of small amount of time together, but how does it in this moment feel talking about this?
It feels good. I don't know how it would feel if I was in the flip side, if I was in this, but in the state that I am currently, it feels good, but it also feels important, in a way to share, and potentially in a more public way, other humans.
I wouldn't overstate how public it's going to be.
I was going to say, I
those-
love how you use the phrase potentially more public.
Yeah,
It's almost like you've seen our figures.
I've heard you guys talking about them. You usually say you've got at least 3. But anyway, helping one other human and potentially 3 humans.
Nice save.
It's worth it.
Next time on Midlifing.
Does it feel like it can happen, or that it's something that's going to happen to you at any moment? Like, what's your relationship to your sense of it being something that's it's not quite the right word, but controllable, or something? There's a question there about the idea of being on the receiving end of something, and also your kind of agency in this.